All right, so for our next talk, we have Jessica Sena. She's a front-end engineer at Typeform, and well, she's gonna unfold how the team works with her at Typeform. So welcome on stage, Jessica, and yeah, enjoy.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Well, this is going to be my talk. The title, as you can see here, is Growth Team Behind the Scenes. But before starting, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Jessica Sena. I'm a front-end engineer at Typeform, as Laura said, and I'm part of the growth team. But probably the most of you don't know exactly what does it mean, what we do in a growth team. So let's see it. The definition, the standard definition, is that it's a group dedicated to maximize the growth by increasing the acquisition, retention, and revenue in a strategical way. Or, said in other words, what we do is trying to maximize growth by running experiments to increase acquisition, retention, and revenue. So, maybe now you're thinking about me and my peers like a scientist doing random, crazy stuff, like the one in the image, but actually, no. The truth is that we follow a methodology, and actually that's the point of this talk. So now I'm going to explain you how are our processes and how we run these experiments in order to achieve our goals. Actually, our daily basis approach is the following one. We formulate a hypothesis based in observation. We prioritize and pick the hypothesis to work with. We test it, we run it. And afterwards, we analyze, we collect the data, the results, and we analyze it, and we take actions accordingly. And once we finish this process, we start the cycle again. Probably this methodology rings you a bell, and this is because it's based in the well-known scientific method, in which after an observation, we try to answer a question, formulating an hypothesis, running an experiment, doing some analysis with the data, and getting a conclusion afterwards. So now I'm going to explain a bit how is this experiment life cycle in Typeform, each of these steps. First, what we do at the beginning is starting with observation. It's very important to look what's happening around, researching, and afterwards being able to generate, to formulate this hypothesis. And this is important because with this hypothesis, we are going to fill our backlog with the next potential work to do. And because we base everything in observation, it's also important to have cross-functional team, because we need to have people with different knowledge that add different value. And so at the same time, for the same reason, it's also important to push for diverse teams, because the more different backgrounds that we have, the different points of view, different experiences, the better ideas can arise from the group. And actually, with that, we can have a wider representation of our customers and their needs. Well, and now, once we have our backlog filled, what's next? The next natural step is to pick the best idea to start working on it. To do so, it's important to identify priorities with the idea of achieving the highest return with the less effort possible. For that, we need to evaluate not only the goals of the company, but also the available resources at the current moment, meaning how many developers have available and which are the other developments that are running inside the platform at that moment. So once we have identified the priorities, it's time to pick one idea to start experimentation. And once we arrive to this step, to the development process, we have to have everything ready to start coding. But when we start to code, there's something really important that we, in the growth team, we have to keep always in mind. It's something that it's called the growth team mantra, that is the following one. Fail fast and fail often. Well, as I was saying, we want to maximize the return with the less possible effort invested. But the path to achieve this goes through failure. We want, and actually we need to fail, because it's the way to learn and the way to achieve success eventually. So at the same time, because of that, because we want to fail, we want to do it fast, investing the less time possible on it. And then the question is, what happened with things like code quality or with the testing? Well, the truth is that at the end, we have to find a balance between delivering fast and delivering quality, which comes from a commitment from the team members, meaning developers, PMs, designers, everybody, in their specific areas. Sometimes we as developers, we have to work in projects with legacy code, and at some point we have to take the decision about if it's worth it to do some cleaning and refactor, or closing our eyes and keep on going, even if it hurts. The same happened with the test. We have to evaluate which are the MVP tests needed to ensure that everything is working. And afterwards, we commit to improve and to iterate through these tests once the experiment goes to the productization stage. Another important thing that I want to share with you are some soft skills needed when you are working inside a growth team. For example, it's good to always be mentally ready for a lot of code deletion. This means that even if you have written the best code ever, you have to be aware that there's a high probability to finally having to delete this code forever. So once again, that's why going for the MVP code solution is a must. Another important thing is that we are likely to run experiments all over the platform, meaning that we are going to work with projects that belongs to another teams. And in order to avoid friction and not being seen for the rest of the teams as crazy people adding potential bombs inside the platform, it's very important to push for good communication across the company and across the team, giving visibility about what we are doing and what we are trying to achieve. Well, and once everything is code, everything is done, let's run the experiment in production, right? Well, not exactly, not that easy. Probably if we just run the experiment in production like that, something is going to explode or something is going to be broken. So ideally, let's avoid this happening. So to run the experiment in production safely, what we normally do is run it as an A/B test. What is called an A/B test. And for the A/B testing, we need to do first some setup. What we normally do first is this user segmentation among our users. We generally create 3 different groups among our customers that are control and variant for users to be counted inside the experiment, where users under control will see the old version of the feature and the users under variant will see the new version of the feature. And on the other hand, we have the out of experiment group that will include users that won't be counted inside the experiment, meaning that we are not going to collect data from them. And how we do this segmentation specifically in Typeform. We are currently using a platform that is called Launch Darkly, and it's a tool in which we can create feature flags and define its variations. For example, here in the image, you can see a segmentation created as the one that I mentioned before, with variant control and out of experiment. But the truth is that depending on the experiment, maybe you can have more than one variant. So maybe you can have variant 1, variant 2, and so on. And at the end, how does it work? When our platform is being loaded, we request all our active feature flags to act accordingly with its values and showing or not showing the experimental features to the users. And actually, with these feature flags, another thing that can be done with them is to hide specific parts of the platform that maybe are not ready to release by defining the value of these feature flags as Booleans with the value true or false. In Launch Darkly, we can also define how many of our users are going to go through the experiment. Defining a percentage, for example, or even a more complicated rules based on the sign-in data or the country, the language, among others. Normally, when we start the experiments, what we do is to define a low percentage. And once we are sure that everything is working properly and nothing is broken, we start to increase the pool. As you can imagine, the bigger the pool is, the more reliable results we have. And now that we have everything running in production, the next thing is start the data collection. This part is really, really important. We need to track and track and track everything, the most actions that we can, because we base the results and everything on this data, on this tracking. So the truth is that what we do is before starting the development process, we define a list of the most interesting actions regarding the experiment to track. And inside the code, each time one of these actions is done, we launch an event, this tracking event, for each variation, for each user inside the experiment. As you can see here in the image, for example, the text on the right are some of these tracking events being printed through the console of the browser. And with all this, we can start with all this tracking data, we can start analyzing it and getting some results. But we don't do that magically. Actually, our data scientists collect this data and work on it. And to do so, currently in Typeform, we are using some tools to help them to analyze the data. For example, we are using a Segment, that it's a platform that allows us to integrate the data with other tools of our pipeline, like, for example, Amplitude or Full Story or our data warehouse. We also use Amplitude, that it's a platform that helps us to visualize the data and create dashboards that helps to answer the critical questions regarding the experiment. And sometimes we are also using Full Story that helps us to catch, to index every digital interaction of the user with our platform in a scalable way. At the end, ideally, when we are analyzing the data, we should cover these three things: the sample sizes, the performance of the hypothesis, and what are we going to do next, and any other additional insights that we can infer from this data. And well, once we have finished the assessment, we have the final results. Now is the moment to decide what to do with the experiment. If we have to productize it or if we have to delete it. For the productization process, what we normally have to do is cleaning all the code related to the logic of the feature flags or the feature toggles. We normally have to revisit if we have put on hold some refactor or cleaning inside the projects. And last, we have to iterate through the testing in order to improve them. And for the deletion part, if we decide to delete, we only have to delete only all the previous work that we have been doing. And now, to finish my talk, I'm going to share with you 3 different experiments that we have run lately in Typeform. For example, this one, the first one, it was about a new toolkit. With this one, we were trying to make it easier for our users to find a template to start creating a Typeform. With this, we were trying to increase the activation rate and the form creation. For us, this experiment, this is a mock-up of the experiment. And for us, we were really enthusiastic with this because we thought that it was really going to work. We really liked the design and everything, and for us was amazing. But what happened at the end? When we ran the experiment, it was a complete failure. At the end, we saw that even the activation rate was decreasing by 3.3%. So even if we loved that much the project, we had to delete all the code. The second one that is interesting is this one about redesign in our workspaces, where we tried to change the color of the navigation bar from white to dark color, to black. So we ran the experiment and we found out that it was a complete disaster. It was a failure. We were losing customers in activation and in subscription, so we had to roll it back immediately. At the end, our conclusion was that for some reason that we don't really know, it seems that the dark color was less appealing or user-friendly for our customers. And the last one that is very interesting is one experiment that we ran at the beginning of this year, in which we added this responses limit for our free users. With this, we were trying to increase the conversion of free users to pay. And actually, this experiment was a complete success. After doing it, we saw that we had increased in 4% the change from free to paid users. And this is important because after running this experiment, actually, it brought a complete change in our business model. From that point, we started to focus in responses, and we started to have new challenges in the platform about how to deal with these new limitations, responses limits. And it ended with the launch this year with the new pricing plans that we currently have in Typeform. Well, and to finish now, I'm going to go through some of the learnings that I've been talking during the presentation. The first one, embrace failures, because as I've been saying all the time, then drive you to the future success, because it's when you fail is the way that you have to actually learn. As a growth engineer, a growth developer, don't be attached to your code, because it's very likely that it's going to be deleted once the experiment is run. It's very important to be open-minded to unexpected results and continuous change. And the last thing, it's very important that it's worth it to build a good communication across company and across the teams. And that's all.
Thank you, Jessica. That was a very good talk. You actually had some comments there. Yeah, well, Solange said quite interesting Olivia is asking, I don't know if I missed this info, but I was wondering how long do you keep the IB test running in order to get conclusive results? That would be one question.
Yeah, that's very interesting question. Actually, it depends on the experiment and on the part of the platform where we are running the experiment. Because, for example, I'm thinking now in experiments that we run in that part, in the workspaces, that is where you have all your Typeforms, we have a lot of people going there. So in a short period of time, we can have a lot of users going through the experiment. But for example, in another parts of the platform, in another experiment that we are starting to work now, that it's in relation with the integrations tab that we have inside your workspace. It's another tab of there. We have a less amount of traffic there. So because of that, we have to run the experiment longer because in a short period of time, we are not going to have that big amount of users going through the experiment. So it depends on the experiment and also the part of the platform where we are running the experiment and the amount of traffic, the amount of users that are arriving to that experiment.
Very well. I think we have time for one more question. So Solange was also asking, maybe the full experiment could be try the whole dark mode into the platform. Have you tried that?
Not with all the platform. Maybe I can tell my peers about this suggestion. I don't know if they have thought about it. I know that with this dark experiment, it's been run like 2 times with a little changes, but none of the times it worked. I mean, it's been a complete failure, the both of them, and we really cannot tell why, because at the beginning, it seems the same because it's only a change of the color, but it seems that it's not that easy change. So, yeah. Thanks for the suggestion, anyway.
Well, thank you very much, Jessica. That was a very good, okay, we're going to take one more question. Do you have people on the growth team that do not code, more focused in psychology and customer behavior?
We actually have our designer, our product manager, focusing also in user experience, user research, testing, the PM, and yeah, we definitely have people that they are not coding. That's the point about what I was saying, having cross-functional teams and people with different backgrounds and different knowledge.
Yeah, I think Clara from BBVA also mentioned that, the importance of the good communication among all the members of the team. Perfect, Jessica. Thank you very much again. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you stay for the rest of the event as well. And then we see each other again. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you for inviting us. See you.
Thank you.